Let's get the party started. All right, people are going to start dropping in. Good morning if you are in the US. Good afternoon / good evening if you are over in Europe. Definitely excited about today. We'll give it a few minutes for everybody to start popping in. Excited to have Larry as one of the featured speakers of today. But
Yeah,
real
I'm
quick,
excited to be here.
before we get started, first of all, if you'd like to chat with, oh, Larry's the best. If you would
That's
like to
good. Hi, Mom.
if you would like to network with other people that are excited learning about AI and recruiting, feel free to drop your LinkedIn profile in the chat for everybody to connect with you. I know Carrie really kicked that off yesterday. And actually, we can definitely thank David Marr, who actually just posted in the webinar chat for actually the introduction to Larry. And he was the one that was just like, you need to talk to Larry about this AI
Yes.
summit. So
I was actually climbing a hill in El Salvador, and David calls me. And I'm like, hello? He's like, are you out of breath? I'm like, I'm in Central America climbing a mountain. I see Cody's on there. Mr. Cody Horton. How you doing, sir?
but real quick thing before we get started. I am so grateful for every single one of you guys that are logging in, learning about AI, the impact, and also how to like use it for recruiting, whether to make more money, make more placements, or get ahead in your career. Also, I just want to say thank you for listening to the Elite Recruiter podcast. Every single person that's listened to these episodes over the years has helped summits like this come together. So really appreciate every single one of you guys that tune in, listen to the stories of, elite recruiters learning and sharing what they're doing. But other than that, I am actually just going to uh, let Larry take over. He is now in charge, and let's go.
Thank you, Benjamin. So happy to be here. And hello, everybody. I do see some friendly faces, which is always nice. And so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Larry Hernandez, and I am the founder and AI search manager for my company, Recruiter DNA. I'm going to cover a few things today. I'm going to go over just a little bit about me so you'll know why am I listening to this guy. And then we're going to go over um, some important topics that I think you need to be aware of on how this chat GPT, generative AI, LLM works. And you'll know why in a little bit. We're going to go over some live projects that I'm doing with AI so you can really not just see some theory. I want you to actually see how I apply it to my sourcing, recruiting, account management, content creation that I think will be really valuable for you. I know a lot of you own your own companies and consulting firms, so that's cool. And then we're going to go over some demos. We're going to go over some behind the scenes. We're going to go under the hood on some software and hopefully get you excited. So yeah, and then if you ask questions, we'll try to get to them at the end. And if not, we can always follow up. I think everyone in the AI Summit has been kind of putting their LinkedIn profile so you can network. So be sure to do that. Yeah, let's get started. So I started about 25 years ago at Robert Half out of graduate school and jumped in on the agency side. So I tell you that because a lot of you are on the agency side. So I've got experience with contingent and hourly placements. And then I was lucky enough to move over into the RPO side with Accenture. Kimberly Clark, which a lot of you know, outsourced all their HR to Accenture. And as an agency person, some of you have never worked both sides, internal, external. I know as an agency person, I'm like, what are those people doing in there? I mean, like, how come they can't get their act together? And then I went to Accenture and became an internal. And Accenture, we had to use, I got my Six Sigma green belt. I mean, there was a phrase we said we could make a nuclear bomb out of a tennis ball. Like we would overcomplicate everything. So I had to learn OSCCP. I had to learn all these things. And if I got 45 minutes of source, I was lucky. And that's when the lights started coming on. Like that's why internals, can't fill their own roles, right? And then I went to USAA. Let me see here. I think I have something makes it a little bit. Yeah. Then I went to USAA, and which is, a huge bank, huge insurance company, very process oriented, very strong on their culture, right? You're going to see a theme here with three of the companies that I've worked with, and they were on purpose. They were fanatic about corporate culture, and that'll make sense later on when you hear about what I'm doing. I started blogging at around 2011 and trying to make videos, and Zappos out of Vegas noticed this and they recruited me. So I started the first sourcing team ever at Zappos, and I moved to Las Vegas, me and my bulldog. I had never even been to Las Vegas. So, talking about a culture shock, USAA is like a military base, right? Literally, to go into the campus, which is bigger than a city block, a man with a gun, you have to roll down your window and you have to give him a verbal and a visual, and you have to say, yes, sir, just to make sure I'm not under duress. I mean, this is top security. And then I go to Zappos, where there's a guy walking around with tequila and vodka at 9 a.m. And every time you say the magic word of the day, you have to do a shot, right? So strong cultures, different worlds. And there were some really, really cool projects that I worked on at Zappos. And then I went to Rackspace, which is kind of like the Zappos of the Southwest, fanatical support, right? And so you're seeing a theme. And as a sourcer, I've been recruiting for a long time. I gravitated to sourcing because back then in 2012, when they kind of separated out, sourcing had access to all the tools. Sourcing didn't have to follow the rules as much, and you got to be creative. So I call myself a sourcer, but I'm full cycle. But at Zappos, one of the issues that I had was, Larry, these candidates from your team and you are not culture fits. So that started a journey. I started me on a journey of how do you quantify culture, and how does a sourcer, what does culture look like on a LinkedIn profile, right? So that's a talk for a different day. I am doing work on organizational culture, and if you're excited about that, let's connect. And then I've worked diversity at Microsoft. I was on the diversity 6 team and their inbound SWAT team. So any pipeline that was in trouble, we would jump in, do the intake, get it all taken care of. I got to work with Twitter and was really excited. Then Elon Musk came on and fired a lot of us. So I've gone back to my company, Recruiter DNA. And just real quick, just about Recruiter DNA. So yeah, I really focus on talent research. But the thing is, I finally, after Zappos, have found the research where I can go in and map the team. I can go in and map culture of your hiring team and then give that same assessment to candidates, and we can kind of overlay for culture fit. So that's one of my passions, and I use AI on the back end to do a lot of this analysis. And we could kind of talk about that later, but I'm just trying to show you that I'm using AI, internally all the time as well. Let's see here. When I got let go of Twitter, I sat there and like, what am I going to do? And then ChatGPT got launched. So about 3 months after ChatGPT got launched, I think it got launched in November of 2022. About 2 or 3 months, I jumped in and I was like, this is it? It was not impressive. I think I typed some stuff in and I bounced. It was not a magical experience, right? And I tell you this because let me go to some of the projects that I'm working on. So, I've run hundreds so I started really getting into ChatGPT, and I guess the aha moment was when I've been writing this book on culture and culture match. I've been talking about it for years, and I had all these notes in Evernote, and I thought, let me see what ChatGPT can do. And I just years of research and notes. I pasted in ChatGPT and I said, can you help me organize this? It made a table of contents. It made my chapter outlines. And I was like, I literally was so excited, like a kid on Christmas. I couldn't sleep. Like, what else can this do? I'm an only child. I have ADD and I'm a solopreneur. This is like the best thing ever because I've got projects, I think because of the ADD, that I get excited about solving problems and then they get stuck, right? There's a bottleneck in some process, and ChatGPT and all the other technology has really helped me just power through that, right? So I want you to think about that. But some of the so I created some online recruiter training. I was the first person to create an AI recruiting course, and through that, I'm going to share with you some findings. And some of the big things is you've got to kind of change your mindset. The students that have problems are fighting technology. It reminds me back when I was in Robert Half in 1997. We only had we only had one computer in the office that had internet. We were on dumb terminals. And so I would go on the internet. I made the first placement off of headhunter.net, which became Career Builder. And there were these amazing big billers, we call them, multiple high six figures, and they fought the internet tooth and nail. And they fought later on when email came out, and they fought social media. So I've seen these 3 points in history. And I tell you that because I'm not just talking like, hey, AI is the next big thing. I have been fortunate enough to be there and see amazing, productive, smart, good people really get left out. And to this day, they're trying to catch up. My point is, you've got to jump in now. You will be left behind, and it's happening right now. So I encourage you to just change your mindset and kind of see like, okay, what's blocking me? What do I not like to do? And then use Chat GPT to get there. Now, it's important to understand something. I'm working up my slides here. It's important to understand a concept, and I'm not going to go real technical, but if you understand this, I think it may give you a little bit of, oh, that makes sense. So Chat GPT uses a technology. It generates, it's pre-trained, it transforms. The aha moment was, because we've been working on AI for many, many years. I mean them. And the thing was, all Chat GPT does is it guesses the next word you're going to say. So I'll say this a lot. I'll be like, it's like, happy birthday to, right? And Chat GPT will say you. Now, that was the technology. And then we have large language models, LLMs, that said, okay, let's look at every book that's ever been written by man. Let's look at every play, every song, every movie script, every article, every political debate, everything. And we're going to teach this system on that. So it will now, when I say happy birthday to, it'll say you because it's been trained on all society's works. That has some pluses and minuses, but the biggest complaint I get from recruiters are, even my wife, she's a recruiter. She's like, I don't like the output. I'm like, oh, you're killing me here. This is what I do. It's like, Larry, it sounds too robotic. It sounds like everybody else. Well, that is exactly what it has been trained to do. It has taken all of our knowledge since history, and it has said, there is a high probability that when Larry says happy birthday to, it's going to be you. Okay. And that's its goal. So we cannot complain when you think, oh, it's just talking like everybody else, because that's what it's been trained. Now, if you, in my training or in your research, we can talk, and we're going to talk a little bit about it today, is how to add some training, how to add your perspective, how to add your point of view. And you can definitely make all these tools sound like you, write like you. And you can also put ChatGPT in a mindset, because it's a real good generalist, right? But I want you to really think about this for a second. If ChatGPT and LLMs know everything that Einstein ever did, okay? We just upload all of Einstein's documents, upload the documentaries, and we tell ChatGPT, I want you to be in the role of Einstein. Okay, you got to kind of prep it. Tell me some of Einstein's big works. And because I want you to think of this universe of knowledge, your ChatGPT is going, oh, okay, I think Larry's talking about Einstein. Hey, everybody, let's start working on Einstein. Okay. And now that focuses the computer power, it focuses the conversation on what you're going to talk about. That's called priming your chat. So I always like to start my chats with, hey, what do you know about Einstein? And it kind of tells me, now I got ChatGPT. We're starting to think alike, right? If it can know all of Einstein's thoughts and guess what Einstein is going to say next, this should be an aha moment for you. We could have Einstein work on our problems right now. His knowledge is no longer theory. We could put the best jazz legends. We could put Picasso. It's happening now. We can train it on what someone did, and it's going to use its algorithms, decode it, and then use it for future problems. It is not copying. It's not a copyright. It's not just saying, blah. It has learned your speech patterns, your vocabulary, your thought process. Here's the scary part. We don't know how it works. We know enough to know that we made neurons, natural language processing, and everything's connected. But a guy kind of just did it, went to get coffee, came back, and it's like, it works. So we don't exactly know how it works, which is troubling and exciting. But we are learning. And how we're learning is they got two chat GPTs to talk to each other, different models. And one just said, hey, can you explain what you do? And as humans are watching the chat, we're going, oh, that's how it works. So yeah, so that's the big thing that I wanted to cover. Let me make sure. Yeah, that's LinkedIn just came out with the work study. That came out 79% of employers really want to hire people that have AI. So again, jump in, start learning this stuff because it's not going away and you're just going to put yourself kind of behind the gun. Let me see. I've covered that. I've covered this. Awesome. Let me kind of go into some of the projects that I'm working on. I'm about to publish a playbook that teaches sourcers and recruiters who want to learn about AI, right? Like when I started at Robert Half, no one taught me how to, source and interview COBOL programmers. I kind of had to figure it out. It's a bad thing in our industry. We don't share enough. So I'm creating these playbooks that'll teach people who want to learn, like, hey, I want to be an AI. They're laying off recruiters and sourcers. I don't want to miss the boat, but no one's going to teach me. So I've created a playbook that takes you through everything. I have a recruiter community, which I'll invite you to later, so we can kind of keep the conversation going because you're going to ask me, what do I do? Well, you take my class or someone else's class, but that's not enough. You've got to just kind of be following people and talking about it. And hopefully we can do that in this community. Benjamin will know communities are hard. Recruiters are fickle people. And so I'm trying to build this community. I've got the AI recruiting course and certification, which is really, really exciting. We kind of go over, I've kind of covered some of this, the mind shift to change. Some advice I can give you as you're listening to speakers and what can I do different is stop thinking about this technology as technology. I want you to think of it as Teams or Slack or Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp, whatever you use. You're not, if you're brand new at a company or you have a new partner in your firm, you're going to be polite, you're going to be patient, hopefully, or maybe a virtual assistant. So when you get on there to start using it, have an end goal in mind. And if someone, if you just said, hey, Larry, help me source for Rec 3745, I have no idea what you're talking about. So give me a little bit of context, which, give ChatGPT a little bit of context. Tell it what you're trying to do. Give it some instructions, and you'll start seeing your output drastically change. And then your model, whatever you're logged into, is going to start learning from you. It's going to start learning. So the big change is it's not technology. I'm just chatting with a friend. And that means this friend is with you everywhere, or this coworker is with you everywhere. Just pretend like you have been buddied up, right? Like the old, like Law and Order, the new cop shows. Larry, this is your new partner. ChatGPT, and like, oh no, I don't want a new partner. I'm a successful entrepreneur. Nope, you got to take this person with you everywhere. Okay, so everything you're doing, kind of run it by ChatGPT. You'll start seeing what's valuable and what's not. And when the switch comes on, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, this is great. Let's see what else. We're on this one here. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, definitely come to the table with a problem. If you don't know the problem you're trying to solve, you will not have success. Okay. So I always come to ChatGPT with a problem, right? I need to send out these emails, but I have a little bit of a learning disability as well. So I'm not the best writer, but well, tough. I got to get through it, right? So I'm using, ChatGPT as my editor. And so, yeah, just whatever the problem you have, think about outsourcing it and teaching and investing in ChatGPT, and you will start to see the magic. A big thing we cover in the course. Let's see here. Yeah, a big thing we cover in the course is understanding the makeup of a mega prompt. That's something I made up, mega prompt formula. And so we teach you, if you take the class, I'll teach you, put it in a role, tell in the prompt, act as an HR manager, use a professional tone. My audience is the AI Summit, anyone who attended the AI Summit. Context is I just did a webinar, I just did a summit and I want to follow up with everybody. Here's an example. Here's your instructions, right? And then here's the format I want it in, because I don't know if you know, but you can output all kinds of different things. It can be code, it can be HTML, it can be an outline, it can be a meeting agenda. You're going to see in some of these demos coming up this week on how it transforms, text into different things. So if you play with this formula, you'll be way ahead of the game. And once you get good at it, you won't have to do this, but it's a good way. It's how I kind of teach people. One of the things, when I say an example, here, yeah, so giving it an example is huge. There's a term we use in machine learning and AI. It's called zero shot, one shot, few shot. And shot means examples. The reason a lot of you are not happy with out of the box AI tools, like in LinkedIn, they have that the astronaut logo. You're going to see it everywhere. And if you don't have it on your software, you're dealing with old software. But if you're in Notion, if you're in Google Docs, if you're in Microsoft Word, Excel, you're going to start seeing that little astronaut magical logo. The reason it sucks is because it's doing what's called a zero shot. It's just giving it its best shot with zero examples. And so what I train you to do is to give it some examples. Turn it from a zero chance. Like if my wife came in and goes, I'm mad at you. What do you think you did? I'm like, I'm going to take a guess. But if she gives me some context and some examples, I'm like, oh, I left the vacuum out, or, oh, I forgot to do this. So by using this framework to build your prompts, all of a sudden you're going to start seeing the magic. Hope that makes sense. Let me see. I have no idea how we're doing on time. So we'll just have to kind of go,
You're good.
go from there. So if I was going to walk you through my journey through AI, it was, oh my gosh, AI is amazing, but my output kind of sucks, to, oh, I built prompts. Now I can make these formulas to do everything I want. And then you're going to go through like, well, I don't want to go to ChatGPT. And what am I do? Copy and paste all my prompts? That was the first. You should go through that phase, right? So there's like this software that saves all your prompts. It reminds me when I started learning how to source. I'm like, oh, I want to save that Boolean search string. Like I have an Evernote that I've been paying for 15 years, has all my search strings. You become a hoarder. Oh, that's great. In fact, you can go to marketplaces right now and buy prompts, and you can sell prompts. I know because I've tried. Here's the deal. That's good to learn, but you can't stop, because every new addition, every chat you're talking to, whether it's Gemini, whether it's Meta's new Llama, whether it's ChatGPT 4.0, it's learning. So those prompts are not going to get you what you want. That's why I was telling you to learn, to figure out why I explain how the LLM works. It's trying to guess the next logical thing based on what it's been trained. Every time it's been trained, it's going to change the answer. So your output is not going to be consistent, which was frustrating to me. And I'll show you some of the tools I've been trying to build. I'm like, why am I getting a different answer? This must be a bug. It's actually a feature. It's actually coming up with new thoughts, right? So, one of the things is, if you want consistent output, you got to be really, really, really process oriented and become a little bit of a programmer and tell it how to think. ChatGPT loves rules in your prompts. And I'm going to show you how to, when I make custom GPTs, you got to say, rule number 1, start by looking at the resume and analyzing it. Stop. Rule number 2, right? You got to give it real, it's called a chain of thought theory. And so that'll help you. And I go over all that in the course. Let's see here. Yeah, so then you're gonna say, oh, I gotta hoard all these prompts, but really you gotta learn how to make prompts. Okay. Then you're gonna go, I don't want to go chase these prompts around. And you're gonna say, how do I make custom GPTs? Now, a custom GPT is a feature that this video is gonna kind of play. I hope it's big enough. But this is just kind of an example of one of these training things I've done. But while I'm talking, it's going to show you how I built it. So you just go on the back end of ChatGPT and you just paste your prompt and you give it these rules. Okay, so what you're watching now is a ChatGPT lets you upload documents. So what we're watching now is that I've made a Larry bot. Okay, I have trained one bot, a GPT. I've uploaded my resume, my cover letter, my LinkedIn, and a really advanced trick is to go to have AI, ask AI, what are the top 50 questions a recruiter is going to ask me? It's going to ask it. And then I say, using my resume, answer them. And it's going to be like, hey, when are you available? Are you a US citizen? What job title? All the questions that someone's going to ask, you make a Q&A document, right? And by uploading those 4 pieces of information, this GPT is no longer a generalist because, like I said, ChatGPT is really good at general knowledge. I have said, you are an expert on Larry Hernandez's background. Here's his resume. Here's all this special knowledge that I'm training you on. Always refer back to these documents and don't make anything else up. So now I can get this chat, right? And I can load it onto a website. I can do a lot of different things with it. And I can show you in a little bit how I did for my company. And I suggest you do this next week, is train a GPT on all of your documents. It's very, very easy. I can walk you through it. You're going to share your website. You're going to share some documents, and you're going to turn it into a little chat bubble. And that way candidates can come in 24/7. Prospective buyers can come in 24/7, and they can say, hey, blah, 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 how does this work? And it's actually going to answer real time, right? As your website updates, you retrain it. As your prices change it, you can retrain it. And that's just one easy way that you can use this technology. Let's see. Also with a GPT, you can connect it with other tools. In fact, I'm going to jump into a demo. I bet you're tired of looking at me and looking at. Here we go. Okay, hopefully you can see this. Let me make my screen a little bit bigger. Just give me a second here. I don't know I am sharing the right screen. I just don't know where it is. There it is. Okay, so this is a experiment. It's kind of built as a demo to people that wanted my help, but I offer it to my community, or if you're taking my certification. So this is a website that I have built, and these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are special GPTs that I have coded. Okay, and a GPT is an expert at one thing. So this, let's say you're working with a client, or maybe you're researching a client and you want to know, like on Amazon, all you got to do is, there it is. I've trained this GPT to go out, found Amazon's Glassdoor, and it gives me kind of a report, right? It tells me, it grades the leadership, the culture, diversity, work-life balance. It gives me how many reviews there are. And anyway, it just kind of gives me a overall impression. This is one of my first GPTs that became real popular in the community. And that's just one way. That's one tool. If you were going to do this on your own, it would be a pain in the butt, right? Let's see. We have my second big GPT was a job description bias mitigation tool. Now, do you remember Textio? I mean, their whole thing was upload your job description and we're going to look and we're going to check it out. So what I love to do, like probably what my title should be, is a reverse engineer. I love doing software demos and sitting there and going, can I figure this out on my own with a prompt? And yes, I can. So I just, and you can use these tools right now. You just upload a resume, job description, and this is the output. It's going to say, don't use this word. Oh, don't use that word, right? Let me see if I can try this now. Live demos are always tough because you just don't know what is going to happen. And I appreciate you being patient with me here. It's so hard because I can't see everybody. So I'm going to copy and paste a job description. I'm going to hit submit. Bear with me, these tools sometimes get wacky. And so it's looking. There it is. Here's the new output. All right. And I actually put a job description that I knew had some problems. Like, we don't want to use the word salesman, right? So, and this tool goes, hey, I suggest you do this. So anyway, you get the idea. It does kind of a health report on your things. I forgot who it was, just got sued this year for multi-million-dollar settlement because a recruiter posted a job that talked about, being a native US citizen or something like that. And it cost the company millions. Not a bad deal. You can use Larry's tool now for free. And by the way, this puts companies on guard. Like, Texio had to shift to do other things because they're going to figure this out, right? Their whole software was just a prompt. All right. Now, everyone does candidate interviews. You're actually going to see a demo of a really cool software that I paid for that you record your phone calls and you record your Zoom calls on candidate interviews, right? And then you just download a transcript. I've got a demo transcript here. So you get a transcript, new chat, you get it from Zoom, and you upload it. And all I've done is I've asked my GPT to make this a professional brief, right? So I can paste it in, I've given you some options here. Let's just do D, if it works. Yeah, and so it saves me time. I mean, forget about should I use AI. So all of a sudden, if your client or your company likes a certain kind of submittal or candidate brief, guess what? I'm a talker, as you can see. I just wanted to talk to the person, right? I let Chat GPT organize it and then paste this. I can paste this into my ATS. Now, here's the cool thing, and here's what I want you to get used to. Don't just be happy with this. Continue the conversation, right? Like, are there any red flags? Like, you're having a conversation with a body of knowledge. So I am talking to I'm talking to that transcript, right? And so, nope, I don't see any potential red flags, right? I'm not saying trust this all the time, but man, did this save me time, because I do not like writing up notes. And no one likes sitting there talking on an interview when you're sitting there typing. That's not cool. That's a bad experience. I still do interviews from time to time, and I'll have a person that's sitting there typing, not looking at me, and it wasn't a good experience. So now I can just talk on Zoom or Teams, get the transcript, and pop this in. Now, I want you to think about this if you're a leader. Let me get a sip of water here.
Hey, real quick, Larry, is it possible to zoom in a little bit on the screen?
Yeah, sorry. So here's the transcript that I paste. Hopefully you can see that. Right. And then I have it ask you what format. And then here is kind of a summary of our conversation. Okay, now think about if you're a leader. I have 5 sourcers and recruiters doing phone interviews. Are they doing the right thing? Are they having the right conversations? If Larry Jr. is having a problem closing, go to the master Zoom account, look at the transcript, and as my one-on-one, instead of my one-on-ones with Larry Jr. going, how are you doing? No, we can actually say now, hey, I had a summary of all your phone screens. I've got good news. If you just change this one thing, you're going to close more deals. Or, so just let your imagination run with that. Like a whole organization, how many, when I was at Microsoft, we had thousands of sourcers. Not everyone was updating the ATS, blah, 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 blah. So every conversation I'm having with a candidate, there's magic, there's gold in that conversation, but it's not making its way into the system. And then that recruiter's contract ends and they're gone. All that knowledge leaves. But if we have all the conversations every week, every day, you're going to start seeing Amazon, this department, we've had 5 phone screens that it sounds like they're not happy there. And we can take action on that. So one of the things that I love the most is turning transcripts into knowledge, right? So that's that demo. Okay, I gotta sit here. Job fit score. So this GPT allows you to paste or upload a resume and a job. Okay. And then the output is going to say, I've asked it to go give me all the job requirements. Okay, list them. Now look at the resume. Do they exceed it or not? And then give me the evidence. Okay, so if it's high, good, right? So I can, at maybe when I'm not at my sharpest at 11 o'clock watching Netflix, I'm like, oh, I got to get this stuff done. I can just shoot over the transcript, shoot the resume, and say, look at this resume. And then at the end, it's going to give me a score, right? This is a suitability score. Okay. Now, yes, you can do this with your own eyes. Yes, you're an experienced recruiter, right? But you're not going to grow. You can't scale. It's hard to scale yourself. Well, now you can using ChatGPT. Now you can keep working on the prompt because all this is if you don't like the column, like if you're like Larry, I ask different questions. Great. Let's put them into the prompt. Larry, I want to teach you how to do this and have professional real-time output, right? And so now you make less mistakes. You teach ChatGPT your own tool. You're basically cloning your knowledge. Okay. And now, you can kind of breeze through this. So maybe you can spend more time on the phone with clients or spend more time with your family, whatever it is you want to do. So hopefully you see some really cool value. Anyway, we can keep going. This one, as I have a problem, I make a GPT, right? This one, you just upload a resume and it gives you the star interview guide. Okay. And you can turn this into a scorecard if you want, but you're seeing the trend here. Turn information into something else, right? Reformat it, right? Or create something. So now you can create interview guides that are tailored for each individual job. Red flag. I've been playing with this. This is more for junior people, but basically I uploaded a resume and it looks for red flags, like big red flags, like, excessive, whatever it is. It looks for inconsistent data. I think because of my learning ability with numbers, I'm not too good and I don't necessarily sometimes catch these things. So now you can just let me show you a live example just so you believe me that this thing is live. I'm just going to paste the resume. And it's come almost like interview prep. Sometimes I got back-to-back candidate interviews and I'm like, oh my gosh, I never asked about their third job. There's 3 years missing, right? So this may not be perfect, but we can train this to look, if you have a proprietary method or you have a little trick, like I don't like industry switchers, whatever it is, we can train that in the bot. And just by uploading the resume or sharing the LinkedIn profile, you get kind of a red alert flag. And this is really good for training new recruiters. I showed you the bias. This is interesting, mostly for research purposes. Let's say here's GameStop's first quarter of 2024 reports. Boring. I remember when I worked for Microsoft, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but they're like, hey, everybody, our quarterly report came on. Let's jump on a call and let's talk about it. I was like, oh my gosh, I did not read the report. So here you can get any large corporate document, and this might take a while, but this saved me a lot of time. And it's not, at first I'm kind of like cheating. No, I am preparing, right? Like I show up to my meeting prepared because now I'm going to do my due diligence and I'm going to have this look for any kind of red flags. Here we go. It's working. It's thinking, kind of giving me a summary. And I went to graduate school, so I love this stuff. But you just think about what you can do. I've uploaded contracts and said, hey, act on my behalf. Tell me what I should negotiate, right? And actually, there was a lawsuit on a personal matter on some property, and I had ChatGPT really help me, and they ended up settling. So yeah, I think, anyway, I could go on, but I think you see the power in this. Now I'm going to show you. Can you still see my screen? I'm going to assume, unless someone stops me, hopefully you're seeing the GPT score.
Yep, we can see the screen.
Thank you. Perfect. Okay,
Right,
so
but it's a little blurry because it's a little zoomed out. So Anywhere that you want to like really focus in?
Interesting. That's
Somebody did
sorry.
ask what you are building these in. Are these in ChatGPT or is this in another program?
There's other programs. I'm actually beta testing the one I showed you, but I can give you a list. Some of them like BotPress and I forget all their names, but I can share that with you on a follow up. But really, I would start with a GPT first, and then you can use Chatbase. So chatbase.co. I bought it on AppSumo. What you do is you train it, right? You log in and I say, okay, I want to make a new bot. And so I uploaded my training files. And remember how I made my bot for myself? I sold this online training and I went and I said, here are all, it scraped my entire website.
Zoom in some more. Perfect.
Okay. It did all this. I mean, I put my website, but it went through all my pages, right? And then I uploaded some files. And this is really the trick. Spend some time on a document and or record yourself. That's what I've been doing lately. I just talk out loud. Like here, if someone asks this, do this. And I get that transcript. I make a Q&A document. I upload it. So now I'm not doing a zero shot. I'm actually giving my bot, I'm arming it with some Q&As and how I want it to be, how I want it to respond. But you can also, there's my Q&A. Here's, hello, this is blah, blah, blah. Is this free? Hello, we have a course, right? And so I kind of trained it a little bit. You can also connect it to Notion and train it off your Notion. And what's cool about this that you cannot do right now on ChatGPT is I can look at the activity of chats in the past and tell my chat, no, do not answer like that. And you can actually help coach it, right? Let's see here. So if I was going to create a GPT, make this smaller. And I'm sorry you can't see, guys. That sucks. But I just went to ChatGPT. I pay $20 a month for this. And I hit create me a new GPT. Well, you got to name it, add a description, optional. Here's the magic. Here's where you put your prompt. So remember I told you about the journey you should be having? Start getting a prompt. Start playing with a prompt on one task. Mess with it. Once you like it, you paste it into here, right? Then I can upload my documents, your resume, whatever it is that, like if I had a company of employees, I would upload all the friggin' documents that are sitting there in a drive and upload them and just say, hey, you are a helpful recruiter DNA, employee, and you know where everything is and what everything, the processes, how we talk, and you get a new employee, you just give them this bot and they can talk to it and it's going to say, oh no, here's how we do this. Oh no, here's how we do this. So right now it bugs me when I talk to my friends and they're at a big company. They're like, I don't know where to find this. I don't know where to find things. That's got to change now. That's something, if you have more than yourself, get on GPT, upload your documents, have this. There's no reason a recruiter should be sitting there virtual or sourcing and not know the comp on something or not know the pay structure. When I started at Microsoft, I was so overwhelmed because the org is so big. It took me 3 months just to figure out what the Spartan team was. No one can tell me, but I was supporting them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to ask the manager what the heck it is. I have to look through the SharePoint. And so that's going to be the first revolution. This is something you could do right now. Conversation starters. When I build these prompts, I know people are like, what do I do? You just kind of help them. Ask about, the updated guidelines. It's kind of a conversation starter. And that's it. You hit publish and you've got a GPT. If you want to get a little bit more advanced, we can do that later in a separate deal, but you can connect this with other tools. And now you're building apps, right? So let me, what is it? Reel myself in, see where I am, take a drink of water. How is this resonating with you? I mean, is this valuable at all? I mean, is this just me rambling? This is so exciting to me because I can you can do whatever it is you want to do. You just got to figure out, be honest with yourself. What's blocking you? I had a conversation with ChatGPT and it took me a while to do this. I was blocked on this book and I said, I was on a plane and I said, I'm blocked on this book. I just can't get it. And ChatGPT goes, what's blocking you? I sat there and I thought, well, I think I don't want to I don't want to come across as a know-it-all. And what if I'm wrong? And it goes, oh, well, check this out. And it just gave me like, why don't you invite 3 machine learning experts to read it? Here's an email on how to do. I mean, it just helped me. And I would never Google that. I would just kind of think about it or ask my wife. And so I really want you to start asking this technology, ask it, how do I increase my sales? How do I, whatever it is you're having that problem, how do I learn Spanish? How do I cook? Whatever it is, it's there. I mean, never before have we had access. 2 years ago, if you were a bazillionaire, if you were the king of wherever, and you had tutors for your family, right? This is better. Now every kid that has a cell phone and 3G has access to free ChatGPT. They can learn advanced quantum physics if they want. Okay, so I want you to just sit there and think about what the next year is going to look like for you. What is it you want to do? You can build a website in 30 seconds with a GPT. And okay, I'm going to show you this. I wasn't going to show you this. I'm going to show you this. But I wanted to know if I could build a website kind of using GPT. And so I bought the name DEIB.news. And like I said, I'm not a great writer. But what I did figure out is if I go to Zapier, let's see. I'm going to show you automation. And I'm going to hold a course on this. So I go to Feedly. And I think everyone knows what Feedly is, right? It's old school. All it is an RSS feeder. It's where I get my news every day. Right?
Did you want to share the link or share the screen?
You guys are high maintenance. Oh, I know why I'm sharing the window. That's what's so big. Let's go with that. Okay. So this is Feedly, the green F. And so I get my news here, right? And I said, okay, Feedly, give me any diversity news that I need to be aware of. Now, when I save this to my board, that kicks off Zapier. This is Zapier. For those of you, I didn't have my screen. It's just Zapier.com, and it connects different tools, which has been around for a while, no big deal. So I told Zapier, hey, whenever I put a new article into this board, here's where the magic happens. Connect to ChatGPT. And here's the message. Create an engaging blog post, blah, 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 blah. And I've customized it a little bit. And then it formats it because it gets a little messy. And then it shoots it over to my website. And then it puts it in a Google sheet. And that way it's complicated. But so all I do is I do that. And so in about, 30 seconds, new stuff is published to the website. Now, I know it's AI. And I know that's kind of cheap. It's not a human writer, but I think it's cool. It's just a way for me to share what I learned. So as a recruiter, as a sourcer, as an entrepreneur, you should be sharing content. Okay. You should know who your ICP is, right? Your ideal client profile and your ideal candidate profile. You should ask GPT, what are their pain points? What do they care about? Because it's not about you. And then you can put your point of view and your tone into the prompt and run information through it, and you will get content. Okay? Hope that makes sense. But that's just one thing. I do the same thing in the mornings. I look at the headlines, and whenever I save anything to my LinkedIn folder, in about 30, it sends it to Buffer. And it writes an article for me, right? And then it sends it to Buffer. Not to rain on the parade of some of the demos that are going to come up, but I have, whenever my Zoom call is done with a candidate, it automatically sends a transcript to GPT, and then it emails me the transcript. Guess what? That's a multi-million-dollar company right there. That's an entire company. And I just kind of played with it. It's not user-friendly, but you can do it. So now I don't need tools that use a transcript, right? And I could plug it in. I could have it. If your ATS has API that connects to Zapier, and I would not anymore buy anything that doesn't connect to Zapier, right? Because now you're limited. So now I can get off the call. It uses that prompt that I used, it does it. It can put it in my ATS or email or do whatever, right? So it's just like, what can you think of? What do you do that, or what do you wish you were doing? Do you wish you were posting more, right? Do you wish you were making more newsletters? I'm going to show one more thing and then I'm going to stop and ask Benjamin where we are. So this is a big report that came out from LinkedIn. Now, I'm using Harpa AI, which is my favorite Chrome extension. It's free. Of course, I have the paid version. And this is how I'm kind of showing you the behind the scenes here. I can save my prompts, but what I can do is I can do summary. All right, so this follows me wherever I am. I hit summary and I can make a TLDR. I can make a tweet. I can, I've got some stuff that's saved. Let's make a TLDR. Stop. Let's do this again. Summary. Let's do a tweet. So it follows me on my Chrome extension. So it read the report and it made me a tweet. I can shorten it. I can repurpose it. And that's a word I want you to remember. Repurposing. So if you're new to a company and let's say Microsoft engineering team, if you're working for a company, find some content that has been approved by the company. That way you don't get into trouble. But you don't just want to share a job, right? So I go to Harpa and I say, repurpose this video. And so it's reading the transcript and it's turning this video into whatever I want it to turn it into. I could say, turn this into an email that, I can make an article, I can customize it. And guess what? Harpa has a feature where it mimics your writing style. So you just upload, if you've made a video like this transcript right now, I'll get a saved copy of it. I can upload it, just pull my talk and say, hey, ChatGPT, this is me talking. Analyze it. Act as a neurolinguist expert. Look at my tone, my vocabulary, sentence structure, my examples. And then my emails come out and my messages start getting closer to what I sound like. Okay, so if nothing else, get on Harpa or use Merlin and start sharing more things. Start sharing your own company things, right? And that's what I mean is like, yeah, there's a lot of theory in this, but man, I'm using this kind of like every day, all day to make myself, to do more for my clients, to do more for my candidates. Yeah. Benjamin, how are we doing on time? I have no idea how long I've been
Doing
talking.
good. We probably got about, at least 20 minutes left before we got to jump off. But real quick, before we start going into some of these questions, Carrie is here. So we're going to call this the Carrie party for every time that she's here. So if you want to network with other people that are here, attendees, feel free to drop your LinkedIn profile and definitely make sure to check out her podcast too, Bullion and Brews. But we got some questions. I'm going to kind of jump between the chat and the Q&A form. I know one of the questions that we had was, what does your tech stack look like? I think it was for like searching for candidates, I think it was.
Yeah, great question. So I'm a big fan of People GPT, which I believe they're doing a demo later this week, David, over at GPT. And I would show you how amazing it is, but I don't want to steal his thunder. But I would definitely not miss that demo. Once you do that demo, you're going to go, what the heck have I been doing? Okay, because it is the first platform to be built on top of generative AI. And so I don't want to tell you anymore. I'm just saying, don't miss that demo. I use Clockwork because I'm doing retained and executive search, and that kind of works for me. And then I kind of build my own tools, right? I demo a bunch of different tools, but I've been replacing my tools by using my GPTs, right? So yeah, I'm trying to think of what else I use. I do a bunch of stuff. Oh yeah. Right.
One question was, are you going to share some of your GPTs?
Yeah, everyone go to tools. Here, I'll put it in the chat. It's that tool that I showed you. It's live for everybody. It's public, right? I built it for my community and for my students, but I can't find the chat. It's just tools.everythingrecruiting.com. And I learned the hard way that I had to put some pricing on there because you're using my API. And so one person stays up all night, all of a sudden I got an $80 charge. So you can use it 10 times. If you sign up, use it 10 times for free. And then if you're going to start using it a lot, I think I charge like, $10, $20, just so I know it's not going to be a moneymaker, but I don't want to lose money. So yeah, tools dot everythingrecruiting.com. And then everythingrecruiting.com is the community.
So I'll make sure that Larry updates the talk notes within about an hour with some of these links that he shared. So give it about an hour or so. You can go back to the actual talk page for Larry, and he'll have some of those links like in the description and attached in there.
Definitely. I'll have a link to my training. It's at your own pace. And then I do workshops and I have a certification program for individuals or teams. So,
there was another question is, what's the best advice? And we'll answer live. What's the best advice for someone who is not technically inclined?
the best advice I can give is pick something that you're passionate about. Maybe not recruiting. Maybe it could be anything, cooking, knitting, cats, right? Log into ChatGPT, open up a free account or one of the other ones, right? Claude or Gemini, Meta AI, and just start talking about something that you're passionate about, because you have the patience, right? If it's about recruiting, yeah, you get frustrated, right? But maybe you're a Star Wars fan, or what's the history of Dune, or maybe it's about cooking. And I think by you interacting and chatting like it's a friend and not technology, there are no stupid questions. ChatGPT never gets tired. You can just keep asking it over and over. So that's my advice. Like, that's what I would tell, like someone like my mom's age, like, don't worry about the technology. Okay. Just start chatting, ask questions that you're curious. When I'm watching Netflix and we'll see something, I'll pause it. I'm like, wait a minute, is this true? Were there really vampires or whatever it is? And I think as you start using it more, the aha moment is going to come. And always start. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, here's another question. What does Zapier do, and can anybody use it?
Yeah. So Zapier.com is software has what's called APIs. If you have a new house, when they're building a new house, you have plumbing and you have electrical, right? So you have electricity coming in and you got plumbing coming in, you got internet coming in. So software, if it's built that way, has plumbing for you to access it. Like most ATSs have an API that lets you do it. So, but no one knew how to connect an API unless you were a developer. Well, Zapier says, we can connect Google Sheets to Calendly, it already has it preset. So all you got to do is click it, log in to your credentials, and it uses AI now. So now you can just say, how do I connect my ATS to my Calendly? So every time I have a meeting, it goes into my ATS. And it'll go, give me a second, boom, and it builds it. And so it helps you build automations, right? With your own tools. That makes sense. It's tricky. Yeah, but go ahead.
I was going to say this kind of like probably backs into that, because I think you're using Zapier, but how do you integrate ChatGPT to capture and summarize your conversations?
Well, so Zapier has an API with Zoom. So I just go to Zoom and say, hey, every time you just ask it. Whenever I have a meeting, whenever there's a new transcript, shoot it over to GPT. I log into GPT. Here's my prompt, cleaning it up like a professional conversation, list any to-dos that I've said. And then I say, email it to me. And there I built the automation, right? Yeah.
Awesome. I think that's it for the questions.
I'm excited. I really want y'all to I know I go on and on, I get excited, but any questions you have, reach out to me on LinkedIn, join the free community. I just post stuff. That's where I share videos, tips, and tricks. I'll answer your questions. And Benjamin, thank you so much for letting me talk to everybody.
Awesome. And, make sure to definitely catch the rest of the talks today. And let me just kind of turn my camera back on. Make sure to catch the rest of the talks today. Make sure to connect with everybody that's dropping their LinkedIn profiles in. Make sure to follow Larry. And Larry will have the links updated in the speaker page on the Hey Summit platform in about an hour. So, but yeah, I'll work on getting the replay up for the people that went VIP, and excited about the next talk starting shortly. I hope you guys keep on crushing it. And once again, thank you for joining, and thank you for listening to the Elite Recruiter Podcast.